Welcome to another episode of the A-List Music Club. I am your host, the Game Changer, Wes Truth. And once again, I am joined by Dominic and John. So how are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
So this week it was my turn to pick, and I picked the album from 2019 by Weezer, another self-titled album, but this one is known as the Teal Album, and it's a whole album full of covers, mostly from the 80s and a couple from the 90s. But and this was actually a surprise album. It dropped with no advertisement or anything like that. It just appeared. And all the Weezer fans were like, what is this?
I absolutely love this album. I'm so glad I'm so glad you picked it. I thought all the cover versions were great. I did not listen to the I started No Scrubs, but I had never heard of it, so I didn't really pay it any mind.
How did you ever hear that song?
I loved Africa. Was almost note for note with just a little harder edge during the choruses.
Right.
Everybody Wants to Rule the World is one of my favorite songs of all time, and I thought they did great. Everything else out there, I was even surprised with Take on Me, and I'll tell you the one I think I liked the least from all of them was Paranoid, which I thought would have been perfect by them, but that was my least, but I still loved it. I still absolutely loved it. This will be an album I listen to over and over and over again.
Really?
Oh yeah, I loved it. Mr. Blue Sky, my favorite ELO song. They did a fantastic version of that. I always hated Sweet Dreams Were Made of These, but I actually liked it by them. I liked it from Marilyn Manson too, but I hated the Eurythmics version. Yeah, I would recommend this to everybody. In fact, during D&D, I played Dungeons and Dragons on Wednesday nights. I recommended it to all the guys that were on there. I told them that they should really check this out.
So, John, I know you said about your feelings for Africa, the cover before. So what did you think of this album?
Well, for me personally, I have some rules for myself for covers. I think whatever band it is, it should sound like that band. Like the song should sound like it's one of their originals. Like if you're someone young, you may not even know that Sweet Dreams isn't a Marilyn Manson song. It sounds like a Marilyn Manson song. I don't want to carbon copy. I just listen to the original. So, that's how I look at it for me. So that's probably why I don't like Africa. That sounds way too close to the original. My least favorite song was No Scrubs. I just don't think they pulled it off.
I thought it was funny.
Yes, if they're doing it as like a parody, then fine, I get it. But if it's straight up, then yeah, that's probably my least favorite song. But I think there's way too much keyboards on this thing. Like I like Weezer with the guitars and like rock and country. This is a lot of, I don't know. This is way too many keyboards for me.
Well, I think it's because of the era that they were doing, and the songs that they picked, 70s and 80s or 80s basically. I think a lot of them you kind of have to do a version of, say, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. You got to have the keyboards because
Take on Me definitely too.
Tears for Fears was a keyboard-driven band. So was Aha.
Yeah.
That's like in the 80s, everybody forgot about guitars. Other than the hair metal bands that were out and the holdovers, like Aerosmith through the 80s and stuff like that, and Kiss and stuff like that, everybody went nuts for keyboards. Even Van Halen. Uh, from the 1984 album, you know, Eddie Van Halen started playing keyboards on everything. You know, I don't know what it was. Like everybody forgot how to use guitars in the 80s.
Yeah. I mean, I like their song selection. It definitely fits Weezer. It's off the wall. I like that it's not the same shit we've heard a million times. I like that they stayed away from like the Beatles and Elvis and Led Zeppelin, the Untouchables. You know,
Yeah.
I give them credit for that. Because that, yeah, you can. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole if I was in a band. It'll never be as good as them. So, well, this is like a tribute. Like when Eddie Van Halen died, there was a lot of people doing Van Halen songs.
Yeah.
As a tribute, that's fine. But yeah, I don't know. Other than No Scrubs, I didn't really have a Stand By Me. I could have done without. That's kind of been covered to death too.
What was?
Stand By Me is kind of another old standard that's been done a million times.
I liked it with the guitar
version of that. Yeah.
I wanted to be more. It was a little different. Yeah.
Weezer. Yeah. I wanted like rocking Weezer. Like I want to listen to it and pretend that none of these songs I'd ever heard before. These are all Weezer songs. It wasn't like unlistenable. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
You know, kind of sound like a very good wedding band. You know.
See, I love cover versions. Absolutely love cover versions. I think there's a ton of cover versions that are better than the originals. You know, so I right now, if you asked me to name some, I probably couldn't right off the top of my head. But there
like Van Halen, like Pretty Woman.
Well, yeah, like that. I like.
Although, I mean, I like the original too, but.
And there was a Van Halen did a cover of a Kink song.
You Really Got Me, was it?
Where Have All the Good Times Gone?
Oh,
Good Times Gone. Yeah.
And that I think that's better than the original version. But then again, Van Halen is one of my favorite bands. I mean, probably in my top 15 bands of all time. And I'll tell you, the first time I heard the Van Halen album, my mouth just dropped. It was like, because nobody played the guitar like that up until then. It was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And there's a little story about how Eddie Van Halen, when he was playing on stage and they're younger, and you know, when they were first coming around and doing stuff like that, when he did all that tapping on the fretboard, he would turn his back to the audience. So no guitar players in the audience, because when they're in these clubs, they'd hear Eddie Van Halen, and all the other guitar players from all the other local bands were trying to see how he did that. So he would turn his back to the audience, so the other guitar players couldn't see how he was doing it. You know, so yeah, I really liked it. What'd you think, Wesley?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I know there's probably a lot of their younger fans like probably don't know half these songs, but I knew all of them, of course, because I listened to a lot of 80s and 90s. But yeah, Africa I thought sounded pretty much the same. That was like the first hit off of this, where that was one where like kids are like, how about that new Weezer song, Africa? And it's like, really? But yeah, it was pretty much the same. I liked Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Sounds a little pretty much the same, but a little more guitar. I thought it was a cool cover though. Sweet Dreams obviously sounds a little bit different with the guy singing, but he sounded a little like Annie Lennox, I thought. And I think you said that too, Dominic, when you were here listening to it. Take On Me, love the original song. River hits the high parts well here. And again, a little more guitar and drums are added. And then like I like that part where it slows down a little, because that's a little different in there. Like you said, Paranoid sounds very Ozzy-ish, oddly enough. It sounded sort of like they were like, let's mimic Ozzy a little bit now. And I swear, every time I hear Mr. Blue Sky, all I can think of is Baby Groot. No matter who does the version from Guardians 2, dancing around. And I thought No Scrubs cracked me up. And I was very glad they didn't change the words about change it to like a girl instead of a guy. I'm glad they kept it being a guy because I thought that was funny. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
I have some trivia about your No Scrubs.
Yeah.
River said it's one of those songs that's freakishly popular. I was trying to decide which gender perspective to sing it from when I saw this tweet from a fan that said, if you're a guy covering a song by a girl, you got to keep the pronouns. For those 3 minutes, you're gay. I was like, that's cool. Let's do it. Like, he said he had never heard Mr. Blue Sky before.
What?
Wow.
He said he's an ELO fan, but he'd never heard this song, and it was not his pick. But the rest of the band convinced him, and he's like, you know what, we can work with this.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
He's obviously not an ELO fan because that's one of ELO's most popular songs.
And it's not just Guardians 2, but it's in a lot of different movies.
I'd never heard the song before. I've always loved ELO, but that wasn't my top choice. Personally, Telephone Line is my favorite.
Yours or River?
He said, no, my favorite is Telephone Line.
That's a great song.
He said Sweet Dreams was hard for him. It is, right? Oh. The biggest challenge for him was how to pronounce this so it sounded like these.
Okay.
Because she says Sweet Dreams are made of made of this.
Yeah.
So it drove him nuts as a listener. So he had to find the way to make it sound right. He said Africa, he thought he spends weeks agonizing over a song, and this song sounds like it was just thrown together and made up, and he's like, and that became a hit. And I spent forever on a song, you know, not like disrespectful, but like I don't have to think about it too much. Like, you know,
right.
Throw some words together, nice, it's a hit. Doesn't have to be, you know. Billie Jean took him 7 hours to get it right.
Wow.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's my favorite Michael Jackson song.
Is that?
Yeah, Billie Jean.
There's good covers of his stuff too, like, you know, Smooth Criminal, Alien Ant Farm, and Fall Out Boy and John Mayer's version of Beat It I really like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It said they started out, they did not want to do, they want everything to be before, from 1990 backwards, which I don't know how No Scrubs got on there then.
Yeah, that was like 99.
They didn't do any songs. Yeah. No songs from any of their peers. I guess probably no Green Day songs or Fall Out Boy.
Right.
They didn't want to do anything that's been done to death on classic rock like Hotel California. They purposely avoided all that stuff. Like, you don't ever need to hear that shit again.
Dominic would rather not hear the Eagles at all.
The Eagles are the most overrated band in the history of rock and roll.
I thought that was the Stones.
I think the Stones are overrated too. I think they're a great band, but I think they're overrated. I think that people think they made a bigger contribution to music than they really did. And another one that I think is supremely overrated is U2.
We can't be friends, Dom.
I was going to say, isn't that like your favorite band, John?
Yes.
And you know who else I think is supremely overrated was REM, which I like a lot of REM songs, but I think they were just pretentious, thinking they're So cerebral.
Yeah. They were like a smart person's band.
Jerry Garcia once said from the Grateful Dead, so music is the purest form of magic.
I was never into them. I'm not a big Dead fan.
I you know what? I'm not a huge Dead fan, but I can sit there and listen to them. They never played the song the same way twice, you know, and they're much better live than a studio band. But I'll tell you what, well, John, now you just gave me an idea for my next album.
Oh, great!
I hope they're not 12-minute long.
I didn't mean it. My dad said he saw them in concert, and he swears they did one song for like 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's how they are.
I mean, he was high, so he doesn't quite remember. But
that's how they were. They're kind of like how Fish is.
Yeah, I'm not into them either. I'm not into that stuff. I don't need 20-minute long jam songs. I want a 3 or 4 minute little song.
Yeah. Boy, you know, I think it's really hard. I know I gave Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti, I believe I gave it a 10. I would have to give this a high 8. Like an 8.7.
I'd give it a 7. Like I said, I didn't hate it. I just,
And I'm going to go with an 8. I'll go with my usual 8.
8.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. John, what's your pick, man?
Yeah, so it'll be John's turn for our next episode. What did you come up with for us this time?
I like to go off the beaten path, pick stuff no one's ever heard of, expose new bands to the world. I picked a band called Spirit Animal.
What animal?
Hard to see. Spirit.
Oh, I thought you
Spirit
said
Animal.
I thought you said suet animal.
Hard to see. Spirit Animal, and the album is called Born Yesterday. I know it's hard to see.
Okay.
What kind of music is it?
Go into the dollar store or cash converter, just grab random shit.
These guys in concert.
Where? At the Kutztown Fair or something?
They opened up for Theory of a Dead Man, and I'd never heard of them. I was like, what the hell band is this?
I don't think anybody's ever heard of them.
All right, so we will be reviewing Spirit Animal next week. But until then, John, you want to talk a little bit about the podcast?
Podcast called We Like Wrestling Podcast. It's a weekly podcast, 4 guys sitting around talking about wrestling, past, present, classic pay-per-views. We just did Royal Rumble 2000 was our latest episode. Interesting. We have a Facebook page. We have is it Instagram?
Yeah.
We have an Instagram page?
You have an Instagram.
I'm not a social media guy. That's WLW1 podcast, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts. We Like Wrestling Podcast.
All right. And of course, for me, you can subscribe right here on YouTube, youtube.com/westside515. Like the show on Facebook, facebook.com/WestTrueBaylist. And of course, you can follow me on the Twitter and the Instagram @WesAlist. Until next time, Troop out.